And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. This is not a Lakers shirt. My Vikings are playing for the playoffs right after we're done. Actually, they're about to start. Not contesting for the playoffs or not competing for the playoffs are the Lakers, which we are going to talk about right now. I'm joined by Harrison Fagan. Harrison, how was your holiday season?
It's going pretty good. I got to say, it was nice to spend time with family, and I'm just enjoying some time at my parents' house.
There's an omission there that we don't have to get into. I'm I'm enjoying my holiday season
I
as
broke
well.
my toe, but that we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into how that happened or anything,
We won't have to get. We'll just say that you kicked the wall because Byron decided to not play Nance as he was playing the game of his life today.
Sure, that makes me sound professional.
So we'll just jump right in. Speaking of Larry Nance Jr., he finishes the game today with 17 points, 11 rebounds, 4 of which offensive, 8 of 12 shooting, 2 steals and assists, only 1 turnover, 1 personal foul. That was as good as you're going to see him play.
Yeah, it was his first career double-double. He set new career highs in both points and rebounds. And I think I was telling you before we went on air, if he's going to get the minutes that Randall really should be getting, then at least it's good to see him doing stuff. And it's really good to see him so far outproducing what we thought his stock was on draft night. It just goes to show that we aren't always right, and we have to be able to admit that.
We're almost never right. We'll go ahead.
That's probably closer to accurate.
Jen and I, we had to run to the store really quick, and on our way back, we were listening in on the Lakers telecast, and John Island was wondering aloud whether or not or why Nance wasn't playing in the fourth quarter, despite how well he's played so far. And I think the reasoning that was given by Mike Trudell, and it's tough because, technically Mike is employed by the Lakers, so I don't know how much he can actually criticize him. But his thinking was, yeah, Nance had already done as much as you would hope. What else is he going to do other than just pad his own stats in there? And it's like, well, padding your stats for a rookie as he plays the game of his life is exactly what you would want to play the rookie for.
Well, if you think about it, they really had to get Ryan Kelly in there and get him some minutes to develop too. So I'm surprised that he didn't just say scoreboard as the reason that Nance wasn't in there. Wait, yeah, sorry, but you said Trudell was reporting. So I didn't realize. Oh, okay. Because I was going to say
reporting.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because I was going to say I didn't realize he did the Time Warner cable thing and the radio at the same time. That dude's a multitasker.
Yeah, he was speculating, and he made it pretty clear that that's what was going on. Okay. In which case, if you're just speculating, just say, like, honestly, I don't understand what's going on here. He said that we'll see more of the rookies in 2016. Which is less than a week away. But I'll never understand it. The thinking there is non-existent.
This will kind of segue us into our next thing about arbitrary dates and times and endpoints. But why do we need to wait another week? Why is there? I don't understand why the team set. I don't understand why Byron Scott. I guess not the team, but Byron Scott I need to see this lineup for 10 days. I need to see this guy for this amount of minutes tonight. It just seems like these arbitrary numbers that he kind of puts on things. I don't get it. It's one of the things that baffles me most about his coaching tenure so far.
Well, and he almost never sticks to those timelines there. So
remember when he said Young was going to be benched for 10 games and played him the next game? Played him that night?
That night. Oh, Byron, you're a paradigm, sir. Well, speaking of those minutes, let's go back to let's finish on Nance. And
sure.
Then we'll go back. The things that I saw from Nance that made him successful tonight was that he was hitting that mid-range jumper. He was taking and making that mid-range jumper, and that's something that he was able to do in college.
Yeah, and I saw a couple people really complimenting him on the arc on his jump shot, which was something that I hadn't really thought a whole lot before, but that is a good thing for a guy his size to be able to put some arc on it.
It's not just that there's arc, that he has arc on the actual shot or how high he's shooting it. It's that it's a consistent arc.
Yeah.
One thing that you'll notice with really poor shooters or not, I'll say it this way. One thing you'll notice with really good shooters is that it's the exact same arc every single time. Right? Unless the defender's right in front of them, they have to put more arc on it or whatever. But when they're open, it's the exact same trajectory every single time. And he's at least starting from there.
Yeah, and that's good. And more what I meant from that was he's not, because he's about what, 6'10", 6'11"? He's big.
Mm-hmm.
He's big, and so Shaq. The biggest problem with Shaq and his shooting was that it was just a line drive because he was so tall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of the times big guys have to make more of a concerted effort because their arms go up so high to put that arc on it and give the shot a little bit. So it makes the bounces a little bit more forgiving when they do end up on the rim and that type of thing.
Yep, I totally agree. He finishes with the 11 rebounds. He's just an active guy, so he's going to run into those as well. It's tough because you can't really play him and Randall side by side. There's a lot of duplication there. But if you're going to have Brandon Bass as your five, why not trot those guys out? I can't imagine there'll be very many loose balls for the opposition to get against Randall and Nance with their activity levels. Though Byron would say Julius Randle, who tonight in 23 minutes grabbed 13 rebounds, doesn't have enough energy.
Yeah, and I used to say how much that they wouldn't play them that way for defensive purposes, but how much worse can the defense be with Nance in there instead of Bass? It can't be that much worse.
Well, they gave up 112 points to a Memphis team that I believe is a top or a bottom 5 offense in the NBA this year. And
I think I saw someone say that, but I can confirm that quickly.
Right. And it doesn't I don't know.
Nothing about this team makes sense.
Speaking of I don't know, it's become somewhat of a trend. We've seen this
they are not bottom 5. They are the 6th worst offense in the league.
Well, they might have jumped after tonight's incredible output.
That's true. The stats might have already updated.
But the other thing that has my head aching, and it's something that's become somewhat of a trend, has been that Kobe. The complaint early on in the season was that he's playing too many minutes, game in, game out. Right. So Byron says, "All right, I'll cut those minutes down, but I'm going to play him for entire quarters at a time," which never happens. Like I can't overstate that. These guys, unless it's a playoff game or some kind of win or go home situation, these guys almost never play entire quarters. And Kobe has now done it 2 of the last 3 games that I've watched. The Lakers play. We said before the show that Byron can't do anything completely right, and that's what it seems is going on, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's like you said, it's so weird. Guys in the NBA, outside of playoff games, they don't do that. It comes off like he had the rotations preset on a little note card that he kept, or like on his clipboard, and he was just going to stick to them no matter what. I don't get why you would play Kobe 2 entire quarters and sit him 2 entire quarters and essentially make him like a hockey sub.
And the issue there is, like, I understand it where you want to give somebody extended run because they have an opportunity to work their way into the rhythm of the game. But what winds up happening is when you play so many minutes in a row, you wind up working your way out of the rhythm of the game because you start getting tired.
Yeah, and Kobe, not to mention that, sure, he'll work himself into a rhythm by the end of that 12 minutes, but then when he sits for the next entire quarter and all of halftime and then tries to come back in, I believe he went 1 of 6 in the 3rd quarter.
Right. It makes zero sense, and it's why you never see it.
Yeah.
It's not like It's not like Byron is zigging when everybody else is zagging here. It's just a stupid decision. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, in the third quarter, after sitting the entire second quarter and halftime, obviously, because nobody plays during halftime, but he went 1 of 6 and had 1 turnover, 3 assists, 1 rebound. After starting out the game actually pretty hot, I think he was 6 of 12 in the first quarter, or something like that.
9.
6 of 9. Yeah, 5 of 9.
Yeah. 5 of 9, almost nice.
Yeah.
It's the tough part here with how trying to figure out Byron is that I don't think you can actually figure out Byron, and we'll come back to him to finish the show. We have a fun little game for everybody. We'll see how this goes on it'll work on a visual medium. Those of you listening via audio, sorry. Before we get to that, though, I wanted to talk about D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle, and they've seemed to regress a little bit. There was an initial flourish when they went to the bench, and it looked like they were trying to play their way back into the rotation, back into the starting 5. And you put it, I thought, really well, minus the obscene language that you always have all the time. but go ahead and sum up what might be going on there with Russell and Randle.
Well, when they first started coming off the bench, so D'Angelo struggled that first game in Toronto, I remember, but then but Randle played really well. And then that next game in Minnesota, they both played really well. And there was a brief stretch there where they were playing well off the bench, and it was almost like they were just saying, F this guy. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to dominate and I'm going to play my way back into the starting rotation. And then now it kind of seems like they've realized that even if they play well, they aren't going to get rewarded with that starting spot. And you just, from the post-game quotes and all the things that they're saying after games, they just sound defeated, which is great coming from your 19 and 20-year-old future cornerstones.
Well, it was really cool to see when it first happened, because the two were sitting. I remember distinctly that very first game, and you saw Randle and Russell sitting side by side on the bench, just kind of like poking each other, like, "Hey, let's just go out there, let's do this tonight, right?" And like you said, Russell did struggle that first game, but eventually they started succeeding, seemingly out of spite, and now it's just spite. there isn't as much succeeding going on, and the numbers kind of show. Tonight you have Randle goes 3 of 8 from the field. That's not very good. For only 9 points, 13 rebounds, which, again, Byron says he's not very active, but 13 rebounds in 23 minutes is pretty damn impressive. What's funny is
the one thing he is active. Byron seems to have this idea in his head that he's the stereotype of the spoiled lottery pick. He has all this talent and it's showing through, but he's not working that hard. And it's actually the opposite. It's his hard work that's been showing and his natural talent perspective where he's struggling a little bit.
Byron Scott's only criticism of Steph Curry this year is he isn't shooting the ball very well. It's the weirdest thing.
You want to move it. You want to take a step in and get like that little bit more efficient mid-range shot where you shoot 50%.
Exactly. D'Angelo Russell tonight. Oh, and D'Angelo Russell plays 25 minutes tonight. Goes 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5 from the from 3-point range, 10 points, and only 3 assists. It's kind of tough to hold his assist totals against him, given how terrible the rest of the Lakers around him are at finishing and just rolling. Period. The rolling or whatever's going on there.
They don't roll ever. They aren't bad at rolling. They just don't do it. You can't be bad at something you don't do.
That's a good point.
I'm not bad at dunking. I just can't.
I just choose not to. I would dunk, but I just choose not to. What are the chances Byron shows any kind of self-awareness here and realizes, hey, these kids have kind of regressed under the system. Let's try to get them back into the starting lineup, throw them a bone, and see where it goes from here.
Well, if we're going off of his quotes from after the last game, he was saying that he was going to keep this rotation at least through the new year, like into the new year. So he said that they wanted to keep it through the road trip and reevaluate on New Year's Day. Because in 2016, his opinion might magically change on them. Who knows?
Yeah, he's going to set a New Year's resolution.
He might make a New Year's resolution to play the Lakers like the team that they are instead of a playoff contender.
Before we get to actually the little game here about Byron, did you have anything to say, anything more about D'Lo and Randall?
No, I think on D'Angelo, I thought that he was decently effective when he was out there tonight. He just barely played. And it's just, when he comes in off of the bench like that, especially when Kobe is going to play the whole quarter, it's just hard to find him those minutes. You want to see him around 32, I think is our goal, around 28, 32. He was at 25 tonight, so he actually played a little more than I thought. I think a lot of it was that they had him off the ball quite a bit while he was in there too.
He just felt really quiet out there, and it's going to come across the criticism turns into he's tentative, but I completely disagree.
People
he just doesn't have the ball
and say that he's passive, but short of going over and taking the ball from one of his own teammates, there's not much else he can do. He's aggressive when he gets the ball.
Right. Byron. Really briefly again before we get to the Byron Scott game. The Suns, there's a report today that the Suns are not very happy with Jeff Hornacek, and that he might potentially be on the hot spot, and that, if things don't turn around, blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts on Jeff Hornacek as a potential candidate for the Lakers, who I tweeted it out today, as soon as he's fired, the Lakers should fire Byron and hire Hornacek, because I really like what he's done in Phoenix.
I really liked him that first year when they were playing all those kind of funky lineups and their offense was really fun, and they still played a little bit of defense too, and they were kind of a league pass favorite team. And then I don't know how much we can blame him for the last 2 years when management brought in Isaiah Thomas. They created that 3-point guard situation where no one was happy and they had to trade everybody. And except for Bledsoe, who now I guess tore his meniscus today, or they announced that he's going to have surgery for that today. And so I don't know how much you can blame him for the last 2 years. This year he had to deal with the whole Morris thing hanging over his head. They didn't pick up the last year of his contract, which for players basically means, okay, this guy's gone. Like I don't really have to I don't need, what do I need to listen to him for? He's not going to be here in a year. And they just, their management has, a lot of their moves just haven't made sense to me. Like signing Tyson Chandler this summer was, I guess, kind of interesting. If it worked, it made them better, but he's been injured, and just not a lot of the stuff that their management has done has made a whole lot of sense to me. So I don't know how much you can blame him for the struggles of the last 2 years, is my long-winded point.
I would completely agree. And I mean, he has history with multiple point guards on the team, and while the Phoenix Suns on the whole have struggled this year, I've paid attention to both Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe for fantasy reasons, and they still seem, and when when the Lakers played against the Suns, you kind of notice, hey, that looked all right.
Yeah, and you heard the Dark Knight theme just about every 30 to 45 seconds, because that's what the Suns play every time Brandon Knight scores.
Right, and his coaching style seems to be one that would be more conducive to, making the Lakers fun to watch again. My one thing, and this might be short-sighted, and this might be painted too heavily by being, more of a, I guess more of a fan than anything. But I'm not really all that interested in Tom Thibodeau, because the brand of basketball that he wants is really effing boring. You hope to play great defense, and you hope to win these struggles in late minutes, and I just that doesn't sound all that interesting to me. And I'd much rather see
the fact that he grinds his players into dust, and the Lakers have already had a problem with that.
Yeah, so Thibodeau's a name, but he's not all that interesting to me, and Luke Walton. People were saying, "Oh, we can't hire a coach this season because Luke might be available at the end of the year." And
what do they mean might be? The Warriors aren't going to hire him full time. Of course, he's going to be available.
Yeah. Well, meaning like he might be a target for the Lakers.
Okay.
And honestly, like if I'm Luke, I'm not sure if I leave Golden State because this back thing might not go away for Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr might say, "Hey, I'd rather just be the president of operations, basketball operations. Luke, why don't you go ahead and step in as the head coach? It's worked all right so far this season." If I'm Luke, I'd much rather, stick it out for that than try to go to LA and this disaster that we have in the front office.
Well, then he doesn't have a true Lakers family mindset anyway to come home and help the team. So we wouldn't want him if he was only just about winning with better players and stuff like that, not helping the Lakers.
Oh man, I had somebody
and he didn't mean it. I'm being completely sarcastic right now. I don't want to get tweets calling me an idiot. So or more than usual. I had somebody in my mentions today, and he didn't mean it this way, but he said, like, "What about this other former Laker, Tyronn Lue?" And I'm like, if I hear former Laker one more time in connection with this damn job, I swear I'm going to kick a poodle. Maybe Tyronn Lue can come in for an interview, and then whoever they end up hiring can like step over him on their way into the office and get the job.
Oh man, the visual is phenomenal. All right, so we're gonna finish. We're gonna go ahead and finish on a high note here. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. I vined today one of the Lakers timeouts, and it was really popular out there. And based off of that little 6-second clip, we're gonna go ahead and extend it to an entire Los Angeles Lakers timeout. I will be playing the role of the team, the assistant coaches, and everybody else associated with the team. And Harrison, you will be playing the role of Byron Scott. This is obviously probably going to be more for the visual medium, but whatever. We'll see how it goes. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Timeout just happens. The team's running back to the bench. All right, Byron. Mike Conley is killing us on the pick and roll. We keep on having Jordan Clarkson get stuck, and D'Angelo Russell can't get around to pick. What do you think? What should we do? Should we go to more of a trapping kind of strategy? What do you think? Good call. Good call. All right. I like it. Also, Larry Nance Jr. continues to get, he's playing really well. He played well in the first 3 quarters. What do you think about, maybe getting him back in there in the fourth as he has a game of life? I like it. All right. Lastly, we gotta figure out a way to get this team to man up. We're down by 20. We blinked and the team is down by 20. What strategy do you have to most successfully man up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying so? I had my headphones on this whole time. I was. Maybe that was earbuds in the whole time. We don't know. Got to catch up on those podcasts at some point.
He has Invisible Beats by Dre. Like, he just sits there with his Invisible Beats by Dre. What kind of music do you think Byron listens to, by the way? I have Macho Man. Like that's what I'm thinking.
I may have to ask him at practice next week.
And that brings us to the final little tidbit here. Our co-host is growing up before our eyes. Harrison, you put in the work, and Silver Screen and Roll has become viable enough as an entity for the Lakers to grant you access to the practice. So congratulations on that. So that had to be a pretty good Christmas gift.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Anthony. It's been like a pretty wild ride, but just for anyone listening that because I know that we have a lot of writer types listening to this, our show and these types of podcast things. The thing that I would say is the same as Anthony has always told me and Drew has always told me is just write your ass off. Just write every day. And it's the best thing that you can do if you want to get into this industry or of blogging from your parents' back room.
I'm here in my actual house. That is, again, while
Yeah,
Mike
you- well,
Wilbon might be shocked, but it's paid for by blogging. So suck it, Mike. All right, that does it. As I light a fire on Mike Wilbon. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Make sure you guys check out the last Lakers Lounge, where I talked to Adam Maris about the situations of both Denver and the Lakers. Plus, we talked about ESPN a little bit. That was really fun. Make sure to pay attention to everything coming from Silver Screen and Roll, including whatever Harrison is working on right now. Anything that you have in mind that you have coming out pretty soon?
No, there's nothing jump out. I might do a little bit of a breakdown of Larry Nance Jr.'s game for tonight, but I'm not sure yet. But I do want to say that your podcast with Adam Maris, I finally got a chance to listen to it last night a little bit, and then I finished it up this morning. That was really good stuff. Everybody should go check that out. Those Lakers lounges are much better than listening to me on the post-game show.
We have more time. That helps.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. And I wasn't able to do the Christmas show or the one immediately before Christmas. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, regardless of what you were celebrating during said holiday season. We could not have the fun that we have and get to sit out in front of you and be complete idiots on the regular without the support you guys continue to give us. So thank you very much for that. And we'll see you when the Lakers play next. When the Lakers play next?
The Lakers play next tomorrow.
I'll see you everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Thanks, Harrison.
All right, thanks.